Hello everyone and welcome to the comic multiverse where the worlds of nerd meet. Of course, as always, I am your host, Keep It Joel, and joining me is my co-host, my partner in podcasting crime, that would be Matt.
How are you, Joel?
Oh, I'm alright. You know what, it's funny, Matt, I was looking back at the last two episodes. This is the first regular episode we've done in a little bit because we did a commentary and then we did the Injustice stream before that.
Yeah, this is kind of like the first back to norm for us in a while.
I wish there was more news to talk about because we talked about a lot of the news on the Injustice thing. And honestly, a lot of the news I was looking at right here, right now, a lot of it is like so old it's almost not even worth bringing up at this point.
Yeah, I think in the next coming weeks there's not going to be a lot of news, mainly because San Diego Comic-Con's coming up, so everything's sort of being pulled back for that.
Of course, of course. Now, that being said, I think we're still going to have a great show anyway. Matt and I are going to shoot the shit for a little bit, and then, of course, we're going to talk about the topic that I'm sure everyone wants to hear us cover, and that is the big Wonder Woman Spoilercast. I've seen the movie. Matt's seen the movie. We both have video reviews up right now, but this is the point where we get to, get in more depth about it, and we get to get all spoilerific.
Yeah.
So, what have you been doing with your week, Matt? Mine's been pretty chill.
Yeah, mine's been pretty chill as well. I've been sort of mapping out what videos I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, since after next week I'm kind of going away on like a work vacation sort of thing for about a week and a half. So I've been sort of mapping out what videos I'm going to do in that week and put up before I go away.
Which means you'll actually be absent for another episode, so don't be shocked if we end up doing another commentary out of the blue.
Yeah, we have talked about what movies we would do a commentary on.
Yeah, I think we're going to do Logan. We're not sure yet. We're still batting it back and forth. If anyone in the comment section has a better topic for us, please hit us up and we'll consider doing it. But we're thinking Logan because that's a big one we haven't done. That'll probably just be a real positive, real feel-good one.
Yeah, it'll probably just be audio of just quiet. Just us watching the movie.
It's hard, man. It's hard to do one we like. Like, shit, even when we were doing Wonder Woman, it's like, must talk about things, but movie is so good. Movie is nice and fun, and me want to keep watching it. But yeah, you're right. San Diego Comic-Con coming up. I'm sure there'll be way more news for us to cover once that hits. Usually always does.
Yeah, and E3 is this coming weekend as well.
That's right. That's going to be freaking awesome. I love E3. E3 to me is totally like, it's like nerd Super Bowl. I get up really early. I get all my snacks together, which seems kind of pathetic when you stop and think about it, because, like, dude, it's a fucking trade show. You're sitting, watching down, and getting excited for companies to try and sell you things.
Yeah, sometimes they do a pretty good job of it, and sometimes it pays off.
Sometimes there's celebrities, sometimes there's live music, sometimes, sometimes it can be pretty cool.
Yeah, this year's going to be actually really interesting, since isn't this the first year they're allowing actual civilian people into the trade show, whereas before it used to be just people in the industry.
Yeah,
now you can actually go and buy in tickets and stuff.
That's interesting. I consider, it's like, do I want to go to that? I mean, well, I watch it every year. My problem with that is it would probably be like any comic convention I've ever gone to, where it's like, oh, I see the big news later.
Yeah, well, the thing I see is that will, like, people who buy that get the same sort of deal as like the developers, which I imagine they sort of get like first dibs on all like gameplay, hands-on and everything. Yeah. So it'd be really weird. And like, what exactly is there for people to go and see besides that? Like, is there any stalls or anything like that?
Yeah, because it's a trade show. And like, again, you see some stuff sometimes where it's like, yes, they have booths on the floor and everything, but I never considered it to be like a convention or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought of it as like a freaking boat show or something. Just, remove boats and put games in there. Yeah, so that's what we got coming up this week, everyone. I guess we haven't talked about comics in a bit, like what we've been reading. So I guess just to throw it out there, just because this was a pretty good week, and just so we can have a nice buffer between the spoiler cast and the other part of the show. What did you read this week that you liked, Matt?
This week in particular was a really weird week, especially for DC. They had like 3 books out.
They did. It was the 5th Wednesday in a month, and whenever there's a 5th Wednesday in the month, there's basically it's slim pickings for all the major companies. They rarely account for that fifth Wednesday. DC threw out basically just a bunch of annuals, and that was it.
Yeah, I read all of them, but I also read a lot of Marvel this week, especially
Yep.
Secret Empire.
A lot of tie-ins hit this week.
Yeah, a lot of good tie-ins.
They were very strong. I know, it's really easy to rail against tie-ins as unnecessary and everything, but I think, and I know it's early to say, I think, and you can agree or disagree, Matt, I think Secret Empire is doing the tie-in thing actually pretty well.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. Have you read Deadpool issue 31 yet?
It's on my pile, haven't read it yet, but Mitch already spoiled it for me, so I know something big happens in that.
Yeah, I read it last night, and it was kind of like a whim for me. I'm like, it's a tie-in. I'll get it. I'll just see what happens, and it's a really good tie-in as well.
They've been building up to that really solid, like basically since the death of Wolverine, when we see Deadpool and Captain America grow a lot closer and become friends and everything, and Wade really take Steve's word as law and everything. And as we've seen from reading the main Secret Empire book, Deadpool is on the Hydra Avengers.
Yeah, and this issue is kind of like the origin of that. Like him, it is sort of set during the early days of Secret Empire with him hunting down Phil Coulson and everything, and he doesn't know what's going on with Cap, but Phil does.
Yeah.
So Cap kind of sends him out to like kill Phil Coulson. I thought that was really cool. These two like fanboys of Captain America fighting each other.
And, this was a big week for fanboys of Captain America in general, because obviously Secret Empire #3 was also this week. And we saw another person who is shockingly drinking the Hydra Kool-Aid, seemingly.
Yeah, goddamn Frank Castle.
The Punisher, which, man, the conversations and the arguments that this spawned in my comment section were amazing. Did you have much the same, Matt?
Kinda, sorta. I know people were kind of shocked that he would do this, but then you got to realize that like he's a Cap fanboy as well. Like you see him in the original like Civil War and everything, and all this sort of stuff, and he looks up to Cap, and so he would believe what Cap was. And it goes with like what was happening in like Sam Wilson and everything, with like just people in like normal America believing. It's like, oh, if Cap believes it's real, then it should be good.
The theme of becoming a collaborator is very strong in Secret Empire, basically saying
Yeah.
that collaborators are more terrifying than the actual bad guys. And they even take it a step further, where it's more than just of course the uneducated bumblefucks in middle America would be fine with a fascist takeover. It's a little bit more complicated than that in the Marvel universe, because everyone on national TV saw Captain America raise Thor's hammer, and even the dumb bumblefucks know, if you raise the hammer, you're worthy then.
Yeah, it's kind of like his moment to like win all the votes.
Yeah, he really did. And another thing, and this is more of like a continuity in universe thing, Captain America is always right in Marvel, and he's always on the right side. Even when he starts out on the wrong side, he eventually turns out to be right. And this is like the one situation ever where it's like, oh no, he's very, very wrong, but he has such a track record of being right. Everyone's like, no, I'm sure it'll all work out, guys. It always does.
Yeah, he's kind of got everyone under his control because of that. Everyone knew he was right in all these other things, so he has to be right about this.
It's the cult of personality and cult of celebrity, and it's funny, I actually had a very nice conversation with a fan in the comment section where he said, well, by this logic, Marvel's saying that if, like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out tomorrow as a Nazi, everyone would start goose-stepping in the streets. And I'm like, well, okay, it's not as simple as that, but I'm sure if he did, more people would be like, the weak directionless people would be like, well, maybe I should give this goose stepping thing a try. Or
yeah, because well, if The Rock says it's good,
he's the most electrifying man in entertainment, there must be something to it. Or, and even more terrifying, the people who are in the closet about their goose stepping would be like, oh well, if this guy's legitimizing what I'm doing, I should come out and start doing it.
Yeah.
He says it's fine. To which he said, where it's like, oh God, I hope that doesn't happen. Then I'm like, hope it doesn't happen. Dude, it's already happening. That's what the comic is talking about, man.
Yeah, the comic is very topical at the moment.
It's so topical, people can't see how topical it is the shocking thing about it. Like, it's literally almost ahead of the curve on a lot of things. But yeah, that was a fun comic. Yeah, I really liked the Sam Wilson one, because the Sam Wilson one is a gut punch of a story where he's basically completely lost all faith in superheroing in the superhero community, and the big takeaway message of that is, how do I save people who don't want to be saved?
Yeah, and it was also the same in the Secret Empire Uprising book, where the Champions team was trying to save that choir, and they didn't want to be saved.
No, they threw shit at poor Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And Miles is such a tragic story, too, because he's like, no, I'm trying to do this without violence. I'm trying to prove that I can do... Because I had a horrible image of me killing Captain America, and I don't want that to happen. Yeah, that was a good... It's funny, Matt. You and I had an exchange on Twitter where it's like, God damn it, Joel, you stole my Hydra Idol title I was going to use.
You did.
Which is way too funny, because I was going to have it be Hydra's Got Talent for my title, but then I'm like, no, that's too long. I need to shorten it up. Great minds think alike. We were so ready to make the same joke. But yeah, those were pretty strong. Secret Empire continues to be interesting. Oh, I guess while we're on the subject of this, we should talk about it. The other Cap, they seem to, imply very strongly that this is some sort of dream world we're looking at right now.
It's safe to assume that it is, mainly because the art is different.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like all kind of hazy in the moonlight sort of thing
going on.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. It's probably inside Cap's mind, and he's trying to fight, and the Serpent Society or whoever else he's going to be fighting are like manifestations of that Kobik Hydra thing.
It's interesting to note, when he fought the Serpent Society early on, they were wearing their OG costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, makes it very strong to state this is not happening in the here and now. This is happening somewhere else. And also, when he puts the lady in the water, she kind of dissolves into a magical thing. And I'm like, oh, is this like the trials of Steve Rogers? Is this like the trials of Hercules? He needs to, do acts of heroism to get his memories back and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting.
It would be. And here's the thing, too, because we know it's going to be 10 issues. Wouldn't it be amazing if, at issue 5 or 6, Cap gets his memories back and he's back to normal, but he's still in charge of Hydra, and he's like, I can't let anyone know that I'm back to normal.
That would actually be really interesting.
Because then he's like, how do I fight this from the inside while also knowing my friends like Natasha and everyone else literally want to kill me?
Yeah, and if he did come out and say Hydra's bad and everything, all the people would turn against him, and it'd just create a massive war or something.
Exactly, that would tear the country apart. Where it's like, how do I defeat Hydra and dismantle this without literally destroying America and kickstarting World War III?
Yeah.
That's a real harsh place to put Captain America. And even in this, too, they seek to be implying where it's like, oh yeah, Hydra Cap's already losing slip of the situation. He started a war with Namor and Atlantis. He's starting a war with Wakanda. He's literally fighting a war on two fronts.
He's literally becoming Hitler.
Yeah, hey, it's like, even people with just a somewhat working knowledge of history, what happened to the last guy who tried to fight a war on two fronts? Or any guy in history who tried to fight a war on two fronts. Napoleon even suffered from that, too. You can't do it. You just can't do it, because you lose every time. But yeah, that was some cool, fun shit there. Yeah, DC didn't have near as much going on this week. It was mostly annuals. I read that Trinity annual. Did you read it?
I did. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was a fun issue. It felt very much kind of like a backdoor pilot for Etrigan, didn't it? It's like, wouldn't you like to read a Jason Blood book, everyone? And I'm like, I sure would.
I would too. I think it's also sort of like a a beginning, because I know in coming issues they actually start to kind of bring back more of the magical characters like Zatanna and Constantine back into like more of the main DC universe, away from like their own solo books, like the Hellblazer book and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe like we might see a return to Justice League Dark or something.
If that movie ever gets off the goddamn ground, if that shit ever gets back in order, I'm sure we'll see it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hey, here's a fun thing, because I had casting on the brain here. If they were to cast Etrigan the Demon in a movie and Jason Blood, who would you like to see?
Ooh,
You'd kind of need to cast two people, because you would need Jason Blood and then you would need the Demon. As crazy as it is, I would like to see Kevin Garreau actually be Etrigan. I think he'd be a really cool Etrigan.
Yeah, I could see that. I'd like, although it's probably too much like his other role, but I'd like to see Ron Perlman as Etrigan.
Yeah, he'd be too perfect for the role, where it's like you already played one demonic dude, just put like some salt. Oh no, you already have your own salt and pepper in your hair, Ron Perlman. Cool. you're literally everything we need, just wrapped up in one human being. Also, too, hey, Charlie Hunnam for Constantine. I could see that.
Yeah, he could play like a lot of different DC characters. He could have played Aquaman. He could have played Green Arrow. He could have played Constantine. Yeah, he could have played so many different characters.
He's one of those actors, he's got like that iconic superhero face, and yet he keeps making really terrible movie decisions.
Really terrible King Arthur movies, trying to launch a King Arthur cinematic universe.
God damn it. Remember when Guy Ritchie was cool? Remember when like Snatch and Two Smoking Barrels were awesome, and when it like got to Rock and Roller, you're like, this isn't nearly as good, but okay.
Yeah, people started giving him a bit bigger budget, so he had a bit more to work with, which was kind of his downfall.
Yeah, there's certain directors where it's like, you know how it's like we're giving more money to this project? He's a director where it's like, we need to take money away from this project.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you'll be good. What else does he have coming out here? Or I'm looking at Charlie Hunnam. What other movies does he have coming out? In 2017, he's Henry Papillon, sure, some sort of French movie he's going to be in.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Sons of Anarchy was cool. Sad he hasn't been able to turn that into much else.
No, I'm really surprised he hasn't been able to do anything like that. I know he like dodged a bullet because I think he actually got cast in those 50 Shades of Grey movies, but then said fuck this shit and just left.
Yeah, common sense actually took over him there for a second, and he's like, nope.
Which is funny because the guy who's in him at the moment apparently wants out. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is terrible.
Here we go. I have my casting who I would get for Jason Blood. Did you ever watch that show, Pirates? Or actually, no, not even Pirates, because he was in, friggin' S.H.I.E.L.D. this season. The guy who played Ivan Antonov or whatever, Zach McGowan, I would cast him as Jason Blood. Yeah,
he would be a really good Jason Blood.
Because he's weird, and he has this interesting foreign affect, or at least he does in all his movies, even though he's apparently from Queens, New York.
Yeah, he's American.
He's American, but he's always putting on a funny accent and shit. And he's worked in the comic book sphere before. He was like a bunch of characters in Resident Evil 6 and Iron Man, the video game. So like he's done that sort of shit before.
Yep.
So there's the casting corner, everyone, for this show. I was watching Sal from Comic Pop. He did a big casting video for Justice League Dark. I'm like, those are good picks, but I also have my own picks. My whole thing for casting movies is like, I would like to see this person get work, or I would like to see them break into movies. Or they've had a shit streak, but this can totally break it. I know it can. So, anything else we want to cover, Matt? Oh, I guess you can talk about this because the movie's coming out on, or the video that people are listening to right now will be coming out on Wednesday. You have a Superman in Media project coming up. Do you want to shill that for people?
I do. I was going to try and leave it as a surprise, but I got the final part of that coming up. Joel is actually guest starring on that. We're actually going to be recording that after this. But I don't actually know when I'm going to throw this one up. Probably next week sometime.
All right, just get people interested and excited about it. Trying to get more eyes on that project.
Yeah, I'm not. People who have been following the videos will know what it's about, but I'm not going to tell you what it's about.
Interesting, interesting. So, I guess with that out of the way, we can talk about the real meat of the show, and that is Wonder Woman that came out this week. I saw it Friday. I'm sure you saw it earlier.
Yep, I saw it 5 days ago.
Yeah.
June 1st or something, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just come out and say it. It was pretty good.
It was pretty good for the first 80 minutes.
Yeah, it is 85% a pretty solid movie, but man alive, does that third act just kneecap the ever-living fuck out of it, doesn't? Doesn't ruin it. I want to say that. It didn't ruin it for me. I enjoyed the first two halves so much it kind of carried me through, but this is something you got to teach in film class, this moment. This is such a teachable moment of, like, don't build up to this and then end up doing this.
Yeah. It kind of ruined it for me in the way that, like, oh, it was so good up until this point, and then it just kind of soured it for a little bit, where I kind of left the theater like, oh, that was kind of a crappy ending.
It's so funny because the movie's building up to actually being something of a pretty interesting message movie, which DC movies have always aspired to be, but never actually were. This idea where Wonder Woman, who is naive and a fish out of water, is like, no, well, if I just destroy Aries, I can, save mankind, I can redeem them, I can put an end to all war. Only for Steve to be like, well, no, actually, mankind, we're all pretty shitty and we'll continue to kill each other anyway. This is just World War I. Wait till you've seen the sequel.
the sequel, and then the other wars after that.
Yeah, and then it's like, wow, that's actually a really mature message that, mankind is shitty, but we can try to be better, and, with Wonder Woman's help, we can aspire to be better. And then they completely throw that all out the window, because it's like, ha ha ha, I'm fucking Professor Lupin, and I was the bad guy all along, and let's fight now.
Yeah, Nigel Thornberry on top of a CGI muscle-bound body.
Yeah, and then she defeats him, and then that literally ends the war there. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess Steve was wrong then. I guess defeating the God of War does end the war.
The problem I had with all of that is that this movie was sort of built up as like, this is why she left mankind. This is why she didn't, until Batman vs Superman, come back. And at the end of this movie, she says that everyone's good still, and like there was no thing that showed her sort of saying, I'm going to leave man's world behind, because she literally saves that Dr. Poison by saying everyone is good, all men are good.
Yeah, mankind is good. Yeah,
that's what I don't understand.
The messaging got really muddled in that third act, and also I'm sure you would agree too, there was a real kind of like X-Men Apocalypse problem with that final fight scene, where it was just like, okay, I feel like I'm watching a video game cutscene now, because this is all in a computer. I'm still 100% sure Zack Snyder like snuck in and filmed that. That was total Zack Snyder thing. Well, hey, here's the thing. He had a cameo in the movie. Did you know that?
I did. He played like some soldier or something.
Yeah, off to the side in that picture. And I'm like, wow, so he really was there. Was there in spirit. But that's the end. That's what I didn't like about it. Let's talk about the stuff that we did like about it, which is a fair amount. Paradise Island looked really cool.
Yeah, it looked really cool. It looked like a paradise.
It did. It was happy and sunny, and they do a great effect where it's like, as soon as the German warships cross over onto the beach, they see the sun, and even they're a little freaked out. They're like, whoa, what the fuck's up with all these colors? We came from Snyder World.
Yeah, we came from literally like the gunmetal gray fog
midnight
that surrounds
blue,
the
yeah.
island.
And it's funny, like the big fight we saw in all the trailers between the Amazons and the Germans, I assumed that would be the end of the movie, but no, that's actually quite early on.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have been the end of the movie, but that's like the linchpin that sends Diana on her mission.
It's funny too, we've never really had a ground battle like in the origin of Wonder Woman on the beach. It's usually just Steve lands and that's it, but it's like, no, he lands and the shit's so important that like they actually sent a bunch of people after him.
Yeah, big battleship and a bunch of like men.
Yeah, shit, and like the shit pops off there. We got ladies on horseback, we got, guns being fired and everything. It was pretty nuts.
It was pretty cool. The only thing I didn't like about it was that whole ramping up, ramping down of the slow-mo.
Yeah, that's another thing that really gets it. What I like about the Wonder Woman movie is that most of the action felt, it felt good. It felt visceral. It felt like, like an action movie. But then when they start throwing in the Snyderisms, I'm like, ooh, this does not match the rest of the movie.
No, it didn't match any at all.
This is the problem with letting Snyder be the architect. And again, I feel bad for throwing all the problems of this movie at his feet because I know he's going through some harsh shit right now. But like creatively, I'm just, this could have been better.
Yeah.
Where's some other cool stuff they got? Oh, I really dig how they showed Wonder Woman's powers and her artifacts. They don't bog you down in exposition like they did for Superman and Man of Steel. You see what Wonder Woman can do by watching her do it.
Yeah, she does it. She isn't told by someone she can do it.
She deflects with her bracelets. You watch her do it. That's how you know it works. She uses the lasso of truth. You see it work, so you know that's what it does. I actually thought that was really well handled. I'm like, good, more of this in the future. You don't need to hold people's hands with these characters. If you do your job right, they'll figure it out.
Well, yeah, that as well, especially like with characters like this who are famous and popular and are not like some D-list hero or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Pine actually quite impressed me. I know we've joked before calling him one of the most boring men in Hollywood, playing what is easily one of the most boring characters in all of comics. Yet they actually made him kind of the comedy relief in many ways.
He found his footing. He was meant to be Steve Trevor.
Yeah, he was meant to be doofy Steve Trevor, who's a spy but also a total goofball. And I'm like, man, how would anyone give you this job?
I know. Or he was above average.
Yeah,
So.
very above average. I'm talking about my penis.
Yeah, that's something I didn't like after that joke. They kept continuing on that joke.
It's a brick joke.
Yeah, and it just kept going and going, and I'm like, stop.
I'm like, really? This is the running gag you want to run with? Okay. And again, you can tell they were taking a couple pages from the Marvel playbook, weren't they, when it came to pithy banter and one-liners and everything else?
Yeah.
They were doing it. I actually really enjoyed, and I'm surprised how little of the movie she was in, but I actually quite enjoyed Etta Candy. She's absolutely golden age Etta Candy from the comics.
See, I didn't like her because like I would have liked her if she had something to actually kind of do in the movie besides hold Diana's weapons
and run the office back end. She was a secretary through and through.
She was, but like she kind of just like appeared, made a couple of jokes, then disappeared, and then we didn't actually get to see her all that much near the end of the movie at all. I think she was in that one scene in that square where everyone was celebrating, I think.
But that's about it. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm hoping if they do a sequel, we'll get to see like old Etta at some point. Which I mean, I guess that's a thing we should have for the end of our discussion. But yeah, where the fuck do they go from here for Wonder Woman? Because that was like a pretty cool idea for a period piece. Do they do World War II for the sequel, or do they not want to make it seem that similar?
Well, I don't think they will do World War II, mainly because it'll just be Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yeah. I had an interesting pitch. I was throwing this around in my head. Ooh, what if the Nazis, who we knew were really into ancient relics, what if Hitler wanted to make, like, Themyscira the new capital of the Third Reich, and so he recruits Professor Barbara Ann Minerva, who's also into ancient relics, to try and find a superweapon?
See, that would be cool. That would be cool.
And then you see Barbara Minerva being like, screw the Nazis, screw Hitler, I'm gonna become an awesome cheetah god. Oh no, wait, I've become the cheetah, crap. and if you make the movie in World War II too, that means you can have Sergeant Rock and the Howling Commandos and the Black Hawks and all these wartime characters.
Yep.
Shit, you could have Captain Nazi and have that make sense. He could be the heavy. He could be what Ludendorff was in this movie, just like the big bruiser that they need to have a fight with.
Oh man, let's talk about Ludendorff.
Let's.
He should have actually been the main villain.
Probably. I will say most of the villains were kind of underserved in this movie, which is hilarious for Ludendorff because, as I found out in my research, he was a real guy.
Yeah, he was a real person.
What is up with that? Everyone else is, like, fictional, except for this one German officer who was real.
I guess that was like their thing of saying like, whoa, this is kind of real now because we've got a real person.
We don't hear references to any other real life figures, but he's in this movie. Like, he's got to have family, right? He's got to have descendants. I wonder what they feel about this.
Yeah, that's actually I hadn't actually considered that.
Especially because in real life, I read the dude's Wikipedia page. Apparently, he absolutely was 100% like against the armistice and stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, that would actually be really interesting, especially how they made him like he snorts crack and whatnot
Yeah,
and gets a
he
glowy face.
yeah, he gets super strong off that demon crack, which it's like, man, if that stuff is so good, why are you trying to build like super mustard gas? Why don't you just hand that out to all the other
Yeah,
people?
yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, why didn't they just hand that out? Why create a gas when you could, give this to a couple of soldiers and go wreck a town?
And literally make them into super. So it's probably a thing about how like, oh well, it's too addictive and it's not cost prohibitive. And Ludendorff wanted the power to himself, but that's just my way of thinking it.
Yeah, yeah, true. But he should have been the main bad guy. They could have kept Wonder Woman the whole I have to kill Ares, I have to kill Ares sort of thing, but have him I like how they alluded to it in the film, how that she thought he was Ares, and then when she kills him, she realizes the war doesn't stop after that, and realizes that it wasn't actually Ares, and Ares is nowhere near the film or anything.
I would have liked
And
that if they kept Ares subtle, where it's like, oh well, he's influencing actions, but he's not actually in the movie. Like that should have been like a
yeah,
sequel hook.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That would have been nice. Where it's like with his dying words, Ludendorff is like, "Oh, I'm not Ares, but I've seen him. I've heard his
Yeah,
whispers."
yeah, especially since like Ares in the comics is treated like not just like Ares is attacking the bank downtown sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's like a big bad villain,
Also,
so
despite
they
being
should
a
treat him like that.
yeah, and despite being a god of war, he got killed pretty easily, didn't he?
That's another thing. Like he didn't like what made him the god of war. He had as someone on my Twitter feed said recently, he had like Magneto's powers, and that's it.
It's a
Just
shame.
throwing stuff.
It's a shame too because with him gone, that means Wonder Woman, whose villains pool is sadly not that big as it is down one of their heaviest hitters.
Well, another thing now that he's gone, and I'm guessing he's dead because we don't actually see anything of him after that film.
No.
After like no tease, like he's locked up back in Themyscira or something. Does that mean war doesn't happen?
The movie tries to have its cake and eat it too, does it's like, oh well, Ares masterminded these wars, but no, there's evil in the hearts of men that make them war. I'm like, well, which is it? Is it one or the other? You're literally trying to have it both ways here. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
again, back to stuff that I liked and thought was cool. I think we can agree that No Man's Land scene easily the best bit in the movie.
That was easily the best bit of the movie, and then once that was over, that's about the point where the movie started turning into a bit schlocky stuff.
So true. They go and do like their Zack Snyder slow down, speed up action scenes. They put the electric cello in there again, which surprisingly, a lot has been made about Wonder Woman's electro cello theme. It's only in this movie about twice.
I was actually really surprised about that. They used it really really reservedly. I thought they were kind of like us and thought like this doesn't fit the character very well.
It really doesn't fit the time period once you hear an
No.
electric cello kick in during like 1918. It's like, what? Another thing I will give this movie credit for in regards to basing it in World War One, they don't bother to actually try and explain World War One, which is good because World War One is really messy and really complicated and kind of boring.
It is. They just said like, oh, the Germans are the villains.
Yeah, I'm like, really? The Germans, so the Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire, they just sat back and did nothing, huh? It was all the Germans, huh?
Yeah, it was just all them.
Although, by this movie's same account, too, Britain did everything, and it was London who did the war. Britain and its one American agent.
That didn't really make sense. Like, why is he fighting in with all these British troops and everything? Didn't really make much sense to me.
Like, again, hey, I'm happy they placed it in somewhere other than New York or Washington. I actually really like the idea of Wonder Woman being in London. I think that's a super good fit. But it is kind of funny we still need super American Steve Trevor. And we also need an American captain named Steve to die in an experimental plane to keep it from attacking a city.
Yeah, he died like Captain America.
The movie, to its credit, tries super hard to downplay all the connections and like even just the easy stuff you could make to Captain America. Still does it though.
Yeah, I instead of doing it in a plane, they should have done it in something like the Germans invented like a bullet train or something.
Oh, or a Zeppelin. It should have
And
been a big ass
yeah,
Zeppelin.
yeah, or a Zeppelin or something that you wouldn't get those sort of parallels with the Captain America movies and
Yeah.
everything.
Like if it was literally in anything else, I would have fought tooth and nail where it's like, no, no, it can't be that.
Yeah,
It can be a warship, it can be a cool war train, but it can't be a plane.
yeah, and the plane itself as well was it like that's gonna bomb everything. It's like this little biplane sort of thing.
Yeah, plane technology wasn't quite there yet in World War One. Again, I'm no war historian, but I'm pretty sure they were still using cannons in World War One.
Yeah, I think so. Me playing Battlefield 1, yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a great example. But yeah, the trench scene is so amazing because it's in that moment I truly think Gal Gadot became Wonder Woman and became what the DC universe hasn't had, a truly caring, truly compassionate hero who cannot let suffering happen.
No, it's something that Superman should have had in his first film.
It was literally a Superman moment where the music swells and, she disobeys orders to just go and help these people in need. And she is treated and celebrated like a hero for her actions. It was beautiful. It was moving. It was pretty much perfect if only the movie could have ended right there, right?
Yeah. That's I can't remember who said it. It was another review who's kind of similar, had echoing us, and they said like if the movie had used that as sort of like the final thing, she's running across the battlefield and fighting, and then the credits roll and everything, that would have been fine.
Would have ended so strong. It's still a really strong moment. Like, it's definitely the highlight of the movie, but it's like, again, this is pretty good, but oh, you could have been great.
Yeah.
Some other small surprises. I really liked Steve's Howling Commando buddies. They actually grew on me pretty strong, and they all had their own little arcs.
Yeah, I kind of liked them.
Yeah, like for me, what I liked about it is that it showed where it's like, hey, America didn't win this war on its own. Britain didn't win this war on its own. It was everybody from many different walks of life all working together to get it done.
Yeah, and even then, when these guys were the quote unquote good guys, they were still bad with that whole thing with like, I think what was his name, Chief or something, saying that like Steve's people took his land and everything,
and now he doesn't
all that
care
sort of
about
thing.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Sammy right there, where it's like, again, I think the movie actually did really well when it came to, what is it, gray morality, where, Wonder Woman is so naive and she comes from this world of Amazons where in the movie they have been literally created by Zeus to challenge war and to, defeat evil and everything, only for her to kind of find out, things aren't, they're more complicated than that. It takes all kinds to do good. And I think you could really only do that in World War One. And again, I've seen multiple critics and multiple articles say this, saying, they really used the World War One time period to its best, because that message wouldn't have worked nearly as well if there was Nazis running around.
No, you couldn't really sympathize Nazis.
Yeah, it would have been like, nope, I'm pretty sure these guys over here are the villains. I'm pretty sure. Now, that being said, you could argue that this movie doesn't make much of a distinction between the German army and Nazis. They treat them pretty much exactly like supervillains.
Oh yeah, they're enslaving towns, gassing people, and all that sort of stuff.
And that they were the powers behind it all. It's like, there was more going on in the Central Powers than just that, right? But again, the movie's like, don't make us explain World War One. World War One is very complicated. Who really, I think, stole the show in the small amount of screen time he had? Spud from Trainspotting as the British sniper.
Yeah, his little arc about sort of having PTSD with what he's done in the past and everything was actually pretty. He's a sniper and never actually shoots anyone.
Yeah, I actually thought that was really nice. And he sings beautifully. I wonder if that's in that actor's contract or something. He sings in every movie he's in.
He's like, he's Scottish. Just let him sing.
Yeah, he's got a lovely voice, sings it up. We didn't talk about Dr. Poison, the actual, like, quote-unquote actual super-villainess who is in this. What a golden age pull, right, for Dr. Poison.
Yeah, I'm surprised they did it. She's kind of, I guess you call her a secondary villain since she's hardly in the movie.
I would call her a third-tier villain, actually, because behind Aries and behind Ludendorff, she's really number 3.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, she was pretty good with what screen time she had, especially in that scene where Steve is trying to like get on her good side and sort of
He's
like
trying to
make her
seduce her,
betray.
basically.
Yeah, make her betray Ludendorff.
He's honey dicking the hell out of her is what he's trying to do.
In his German accent.
And she's like, I am in a committed relationship, thank you very much. They definitely imply a more interesting story with her and Ludendorff, and it's like, what was this like actual love? Does that kind of redeem them? What's happening there?
It was really interesting. I'm intrigued as well to see like what exactly would happen to her, because she kind of disappeared near the end after Diana refused to drop that tank on her. So I'd like to see her if she like uses like a gas or something to survive till modern times and actually fights Wonder Woman again.
Is it like, like a Zola situation? Did the Allies pick her up and it's like, hey, how about you make some stuff for us?
I like that she just like sort of escaped the war and just went into hiding, just developing weapons for herself and revenge and whatnot.
Or, hey, this is another one too. If they end up doing the World War II thing and end up taking my Captain Nazi idea, have Hitler be like, oh, we used the Moreau diagrams and formulas to create our own super soldier. No longer do you need to take it all the time. Now it's baked into him.
There you go.
See, again, DC, Warner Brothers, I'm full of ideas right here. But yeah, again, too, because there's so much time they unaccount for Wonder Woman's history. I like what you were saying, too. Yeah, maybe she just became a supervillain and her and Wonder Woman had all sorts of battles across the 20s.
Yeah, or even better, because she remembers what Wonder Woman did for her back during World War One, didn't kill her and kind of spared her from what Ludendorff and everything was doing. Maybe she becomes like an uneasy ally to her.
That would be cool. Isn't there like a new, like a descendant of Morrow in the Wonder Woman comics right now who runs a mercenary company, Poison Company?
Yeah. I think they call her Maru in it, Maru. But yeah, she's like a spec ops soldier, and she can use poisons and stuff.
Now, is that the actual Dr. Poison, or is that a descendant of her?
I don't actually know. I would assume maybe it might be a descendant, but in saying that, she's in the Year One storylines as well.
Right.
So it could be like the original, and they've just brought her into a more contemporary setting.
Be updated, yeah. Huh, right on. What else can we really say about the movie here? There was a lot of really cool stuff. One thing I'll admit I wasn't a fan of, other people in my theater seem to like it, but I think this is just a problem because I see a lot of movies. They try and have two mysteries. They try and have the mystery of, ooh, who is the God Killer? What is the God Killer? But then they, like, hang the camera on Gal Gadot for, like, 5 seconds, and I'm like, it's her.
Oh, yeah, no, well, like, I kind of guessed that to begin with, like back when like they tried to do the old bait and switch with the Aries thing, and like that guy's Aries. They wouldn't cast an actor like that for a bit part. He's Aries.
Why would you have Professor Lupin if it wasn't going to be him?
And then there's the whole thing with Diana's mother protecting her and the bracelets and whatnot. I'm like, she's the God Killer. It's not the sword.
And that's my most comic book fan kind of nitpick about the movie, and that is I hate that they took that piece of Brian Azzarello's run and put that in the movie to essentially make that canon to everyone who doesn't read comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To be like, oh, she is a demigod, she is the daughter of Zeus. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
And I only don't like it because the movie didn't need it, was the thing.
No,
I was already sold on this version of Wonder Woman. I already think that she fought and earned everything she had. I didn't think they needed to go the extra mile to make her a demigod on top of it. I'm like, no, she's tough enough and she's cool enough. Now you've just put too much.
Yeah, kind of like overpowering her a little bit, because now there's that thing where it's like, oh well, we've seen what she can do. She shouldn't have any problem with anything else.
Yeah, you've over-sugared my tea. It was already plenty sweet. Which, what else was I going to say on that regard? Oh, God, where'd my head go? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the thing with Zeus and everything and what we get about the past and whatnot, like, it actually sets a pretty interesting timeline for the cosmology of this DC cinematic universe. What this movie is essentially saying is there is one true god, and it is Zeus.
Yeah, so kind of going against Snyder's whole thing.
Yeah, makes all
with the Jesus and everything.
Yeah, makes all the Christian and Jesus allegories we see in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman seem kind of silly in retrospect, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I want Diana in Justice League to be like, oh, you've actually been praying to the wrong guy this whole time. My father Zeus will be much upset with you. Although, I mean, I guess if we want to bring in some Jungian ideas here about the collective subconscious, all God is basically the same God, Zeus and Odin, and the Judeo-Christian God, just, a happy white guy with a big, long, bushy beard that we've been seeing over and over again.
Yeah, it's all the same person.
It's all the same thing, man. We're just telling different stories. It's like Lay's chip, man. Here they're Lay's, but in Britain they're Mr. They're Walkers, and in Saudi Arabia they're Mr. Chippy. They're just all the same in a different bag. And that's part of my new college thesis I'm writing, Religion and Theology Through the Lens of Potato Chips. Joel writes what he knows. Another funny thing, and I had to actually read this somewhere else. Sammy, their Indian buddy there.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, like back in that time in London, Sammy was actually a racist term for Indian people. It was like a corruption of the word Swami.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was, which is funny because Steve is sure to call him Samir all over the place, which is his real name. But Sammy introduces himself as Sammy, and I'm like, did they do that intentionally? Because if they did, that's actually quite clever.
It is, and now that I actually know that, I actually applaud them for not actually, having it seems like, well, it means this and this and this, and not explaining it and just expecting people maybe to know it, maybe not to know it.
Yeah, that's if that was intentional, good on them for being smart. It gets even crazier because I followed this down the rabbit hole today online. Swami in Indian actually means master. So that was a racist term they used back then, but the Indian people were always kind of laughing at them because it's like, ha ha ha, your corruption of our word actually means this other thing.
You are calling me master.
Yeah, so I'm actually having fun with this. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, the movie does a really good job with, other cultures and, everyone who fought during the war. It makes the most of its setting, actually.
Mm-hmm, yep.
It makes the most of its setting in a pretty interesting way. It has layers to it, is what it did. And again, it's because of these layers and because of, how subtle it was in places and reserved. It's why when they do the big blow up everything third act, it's like, oh, come on, you were better than this.
Yeah, it totally doesn't mesh with the rest of the film. It doesn't mesh with what they were setting up in that.
It's we need to become a blockbuster at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I dug, too, they had a whole scene in what was basically the castle from Doom.
Yeah, Castle Wolfenstein.
They literally go to Castle Wolfenstein, which, again, Chris Pine gets to be funny, gets to be the comedy relief, and gets to try out his comedy German and gets to dress up.
Again, I wouldn't have minded if that scene was the final battle, because they had the whole thing where he's going to set off the gas in the city. We got to stop him.
I mean, I think what is it? Just as long as it wasn't a big blue light shooting up in the sky.
No, it was a big green smoky bomb.
It was a big green smoky bomb, not unlike the big green smoky bomb from Amazing Spider-Man. Although I think that was blue too. Was that blue or green? I can't remember.
I think it was blue. It was blue, and it turned people into green lizards.
That's right. That's a real problem, as we keep making all these superhero movies. It's really hard for them to not kind of have the same finale, right? Because it's like, how do you ratchet it up to that point?
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem with all these movies. They're trying to outdo the last one. So we got to do a bigger blue laser. We got to do a bigger destruction scene. Yeah. Whereas it's not like that in comics. So
no, it's usually a little different. That's why you got to respect stuff for doing it differently when they do it differently.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else you can say about Wonder Woman. Well, actually, here's a pretty interesting thing. It's usually at this point we would talk about, Easter eggs and stuff. Shockingly few Easter eggs in this movie.
And I'm happy for that. It seems to have maybe Patty Jenkins saw how they were looking at Batman v Superman with all these weird Easter eggs being there for no reason and thought, we're not going to have any of them.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, too, mad respect on her for that. Where it's like, look, we're going to actually buckle down and make a movie here is what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think, the only real, DC Universe, Easter eggs came in those parts that were set in the future where we got like the Wayne Enterprises car and everything, and that's about it. That's about it.
That was about it. What was I going to say, too? The movie opens up some interesting ideas moving forward into the future. Mainly, what did Diana do with her time in between World War I and the present?
Get a place in the Louvre.
Yeah, she works at a museum and stuff, which is actually kind of cool, and I wonder if you felt this too. I'm like, oh, she works with antiques and everything. I instantly thought Highlander. I'm like, oh, Wonder Woman's the Highlander. This is great.
Yeah, she's like the Highlander with Indiana Jones, because no doubt she found most of those antiques.
For sure. And it's funny, which again, if they do talk about that, if they do talk about her getting like ancient relics and shit, like maybe she couldn't find her way back to the Themyscira, so that's why she got the job to try and find it. That's how she meets Barbara and Minerva the cheetah, because she's also an archaeologist.
I hope they do that thing with the Themyscira. She can't find her way back, mainly because like her mother said that she might not be able to find her way back, and the comics just did a really good job of that storyline.
They signpost it pretty hard, where it's like, look, if you leave, you might not come back.
Yeah, the only problem is the reasoning for why she couldn't come back in the comics is because it's Aries' prison and no one needs to know where that is. But obviously they can't do that in the movies.
They'll come up with some reason for it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
also,
it's Dr. Cyber's prison.
Ooh, yeah, or Dr. Psycho, or any of these other villains. I'm sure they'll if they do one in the present, I think they have to do Veronica Cale. Be like, hey, I have a Lex Luthor too, and maybe my Lex Luthor will be better than your Lex Luthor.
And my Lex Luthor won't blow people up with piss.
Yeah, I had a better Superman moment than Superman, and I had arguably some better fight scenes than Batman. I only killed one person. It was the person I meant to kill. Which, how shocking is that DC and Warner Brothers, their most hopeful, their most uplifting movie they've done is set against the backdrop of World War I, one of the greatest tragedies in collective human history.
It's pretty good. As I said to our friend Mitch, it's what happens when you don't have a director who feels the need to fix the character.
Yeah, this is just Wonder Woman as we know her and as we like her.
Yeah.
Which, again, for a lot of people who don't really know the character, this is them seeing it for the first time, and I think it's super great that they got such a nice representation of the character.
Yeah, it's a pretty much better than like Batman v Superman did her.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's funny too, as I sit and think about Gal Gadot as an actor, she's definitely still very young, she's definitely still kind of learning the ropes and everything, but, you know, her foreign charm and her interesting affect make her kind of perfect for this role.
They do that. As I said in my review, they kind of need to get her some acting lessons, because I mean, if someone like Dave Bautista can come from wrestling and make a really diverse actor in just a short amount of time, whereas Gadot's been acting since like the late 90s.
Actually, really? I thought this was only like her third or fourth movie.
She's been like in TV and other movies and everything. Obviously Fast and Furious and everything.
Well, let me ask you this. Those other movies she was doing, was that in like her native country? Was that like in her like foreign tongue? Really, they were English?
No. Yeah. They're a mixture. She was in stuff like Entourage and all sorts of stuff.
Okay, because I figured like, you know, I'm like, is a language gap her problem? Is that the thing? Like, obviously she can speak English and she's got a good handle on it. I'm just saying, you know, is like some of that lost in translation to her.
It's a possibility.
It could be. And I mean, like, my thing too is like, you know, she's better here than she was in Batman v Superman, and I'm sure she can only get better from here.
I hope so. I hope like maybe Joss Whedon is the one who could probably maybe bring this to Justice League, but extend it a bit more and give her a little bit more.
Yeah, because that's definitely the fear too, where it's like, man, Patty Jenkins did a really good job here. She really nailed the character. It really feels like, you know, she worked with each actor individually to really try and bring the best out of them. What is this going to be like in Justice League, though?
Yeah, especially when Justice League was all filmed before this.
Yeah, because I'm going to be really disappointed if the stuff that happened to Wonder Woman in this movie is not honored in Justice League, or if her character is wildly different. Like, if she becomes an uncaring psychopath, I'll not like that.
Yeah, just killing swaths of people.
I'll be very, very disappointed.
Yeah.
My heart will hurt. My heart will hurt bad on that one. Oh, hey, here's an interesting thing, and maybe you noticed this. No Linda Carter cameo. You think if anything was a slam dunk.
I did think she was going to be in the film. I thought maybe they'll make her like a Themysciran elder, like one of the senators or something.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, oh, we'll go down to the record room and see the record keeper.
Yeah, or she would be the one who was guarding the weapons.
That too.
Yeah, and be kind of like in like a more modern take on her Wonder Woman costume.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I would definitely dig on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, to think even the freaking Power Rangers movie had a cameo from two Power Rangers, but Wonder Woman didn't have a cameo from the only other live action Wonder Woman we know of.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Well, maybe her Supergirl schedule couldn't allow it.
I guess. And, yeah, wow, you know what? I never even thought of that, Matt. You might actually be totally right. She couldn't be in the Wonder Woman movie because she was busy being in Supergirl. It's like, no, thank you. I have more than just a walk-on cameo here. I'm actually a character in this. Sequel, guys. Come on, sequel. You want to do it. She can be the kindly lady at, like, the proto-museum that Wonder Woman works with.
Yeah, her boss at the museum.
That would be nice. Again, it's not even like Adam West. Like if Adam West showed up in the Ben Affleck Batman movie, yeah, that would take you out of it because because Adam West is like really recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also made a career out of doing comedy and comedy parts. When Linda Carter shows up, we'll just be like, oh, hey, look, it's Linda Carter. It's the original Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Not like when you see Adam West where it's like, it's Adam West. He's hilarious. He's going to do some funny shit, I bet.
He can be the mayor of Gotham.
That would be fine, too. Let's call Ben Affleck on the red phone. We don't have that, sir. Oh. Install a red phone.
I'll email him.
Get a red background for my cell phone, chum. And then Burt Ward can be like the co-mayor, can be like his running mate mayor. Just to get them to show. See, that's a beautiful moment, but it would take you out of any movie if they showed up.
Well, the thing is, it would be really the difference. It'd be like pouring oil into water.
Yeah, it would be like
for like the DCEU. If it was like a movie universe that was a bit more happy, then yeah, but not with this universe.
They'd stick out like sore thumbs, wouldn't they? And again, too, it's like get Linda Carter to cameo because it's not like you can get any of the other Batman actors to cameo.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's not like you can get any of the Superman actors to cameo because most of them are dead. or if they're not dead, they're people we don't want to see. Like Brandon Routh, I'm sorry you had a raw deal. You're on the DC TV shows right now, but it's not like you're going to get to cameo in one of these.
Yeah, and same with like Dean Cain.
Yeah,
he's doing fine on Supergirl.
Exactly. You're already in shit. It would just confuse people if you showed up in the movies. In fact, giving them jobs on the TV show almost assures that we'll never see them in cameos in the movies.
Yeah. Saying that, then Linda Carter won't appear.
Oh, that's sad too. Now that I stop and think about it, I hope that's not the case. I made myself sad now. Yeah, shit. Is that why they hand out those cameos and roles the way they do? Because they have a big thing about not mixing the TV universes and the movie universes.
Maybe, I don't know.
To be like, oh, well, you're a character now. Well, now you can't show up because it would confuse people.
Maybe, but that doesn't explain stuff like Superman in the TV shows.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. So yeah, Wonder Woman, pretty good. Could have been better. I really hope Jenkins sticks around for the Wonder Woman sequel, whatever that would be. I think she actually has quite a lock on what the character should be.
Yeah, and since she has that, give her a shot at someone. Give her Man of Steel 2.
Oh, God, could you imagine?
Let's have a proper Superman film.
Imagine if she could take what she did for that No Man's Land scene. Imagine what she could do with Superman.
We would have someone that smiles.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
And not want to look like he wants to slit his wrists while saving people.
Yeah, all the time. Someone who looks pained and horrified. Actually, someone was arguing with me in the comment section when I brought that up. And he's like, no, how could you possibly read that? Superman looks sad in those scenes because he can't save everybody.
What? He's Superman. He can. That's like his whole point.
He can literally do anything that's a poor reading of the character that runs literally in opposition of what the character's supposed to be about. And I mean, fuck me, if Superman's not having a good time being Superman, then I guess I'm just fucked, right?
Yeah.
If this is some horrible 9 to 5 for him, I guess nothing matters, right?
No, no.
I guess nothing matters ever. So yeah, everyone, there you go. That was Wonder Woman. That was the comic multiverse for this week. I know we haven't talked as long as we normally do, but hey, there was no news this week. We're just trying to make it happen with what we had.
Yeah, we can only talk about a movie that was quite good for so long before we start repeating ourselves.
And like we said, not a lot of sequel baiting, not a lot of Easter egging, to the movie's credit ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's like another thing too, like I went with a friend, it's like, oh, should we stay behind and see if there's a post-credit scene? I'm like, there isn't one, I would have heard about it.
Yeah, I knew there wouldn't be one either.
I'm like, there isn't one, the next one's Justice League, they might be reshooting that one while they are reshooting bits of it, so no, they got nothing to show. I was at least expecting them to maybe mention a mother box, because supposedly mother boxes are going to be really important now in Justice League.
Yeah, well, what was that thing at the end of her movie when she like went off to like do something?
I don't know.
Like at the end when she was like kind of jump flying.
Oh yeah, she got a call about something and jumped off. Actually, hey, let's talk about the jump there. So obviously in the comics, in the cartoons and shit, Wonder Woman has had a history of being able to fly, but I don't think she can really fly in the DC one. She didn't fly in this. But
no, I don't think she can.
But she did that jump in a way where it's like, wait, are they implying that maybe she can fly in the future? Maybe she learned to do that?
Maybe, but we would see that from like in Batman v Superman, though.
I guess, yeah. Well, hey, in my hypothetical World War II Wonder Woman sequel that I'm working on, Wonder Woman teams up with the Blackhawks for a secret mission, and in doing so, she learns to fly without a plane. Because, you know, they inspire her to take to the sky, and she can fly like the Amazons of old, who could apparently do that.
They believe in her.
They believe, and that lifts her up. They are the wind beneath her wings, Matt. Or
that's a bit too on the nose.
A little bit. Or barring that, let's write another origin for the invisible jet, because that's the one thing we didn't see. We saw all the other Wonder Woman accoutrement, no invisible jet.
I have a feeling that since we saw like in the comics, it's usually something like Steve Trevor's plane that they covered in invisible scales on Themyscira.
Love that.
Obviously they can't do that. So my guess is it's going to be something like a Wayne jet or something, like a Batman jet or something.
That's invisible. Yeah, I mean, I guess invisible jets don't blow people's minds as much like they used to back in the late 40s, early 50s. Now things can just do that.
Yeah, well, considering people like the Avengers and everything have them before her, so...
But yeah, so yeah, Wonder Woman, pretty cool. I would say go see it if you're on the fence, but then again, judging by what the movie took in this weekend, you probably all saw it anyway.
Yeah, the one thing about that is interesting to me is everyone's seen it already. What's next week going to be like for it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder, does this movie have sticking power? Does it have legs is the thing? And also... Could it possibly, again, I might have to check the numbers, and I'm terrible with this sort of thing. Wouldn't it be hilarious if it ultimately, in its long run, ended up making more than, like, Man of Steel did?
Well, I think it's already made more in the first weekend, I think. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that.
I hope it does, and I hope that sends a strong message to Warner Brothers management that, hey, we want more of this lady, and we want more movies like this.
Yeah, ones that make you feel happy.
Yeah, reward goodness is what I would say. Reward happy good times.
Yeah.
So there you go, everyone. That's the show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you want to listen to the show and follow it and keep it around with you all the time, be sure to head on over to the SoundCloud page. That's the Comic Multiverse SoundCloud page where you can download. Be sure to follow and find Matt over on his own channel, Fortress of Solitude.
Yep, I've got some good stuff coming out soon.
Yes, we have a Discord now that Matt made for us. I'm trying to check out the Discord chat more and more, but it's really hard. I'm on a lot of shows.
Yeah, I keep kind of forgetting about it. It's always open on my computer, but I always keep kind of forgetting about it because nothing kind of warns me about it or anything.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. So yeah, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show, and Matt and I will be back again next week. Will we, Matt? I hope you're going away.
Yeah. For a regular show.
Okay, for a regular show next week. So on that note, everyone, thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.